On your wedding day, you're going to be getting ready, right? Well, you'd be surprised how many people don't really want getting ready footage at their weddings when they reach out to talk to me about their wedding timelines. I always find it interesting. So, on this episode, we're going to cover a little bit about what exactly do you need from the getting ready pictures? Are they important? What usually happens during this time? And what importance they play during your whole coverage as far as storytelling. Hey guys, and welcome back to the South Asian Wedding Guru. Today, I'm going to cover a little bit about getting ready pictures when it comes to your wedding day and the coverage that you might need or where it fits into your timeline. How much time does a bride need for getting ready, right? I mean, a lot of people are like 4 hours. As soon as they hear this from the hair and makeup people, they're like, 4 hours? Really? I need 4 hours? Yes, you absolutely need 4 hours. And if you meet with a hair and makeup artist and they tell you 3, they're just trying to be nice because they know that if you have to sit there for 4 hours, it does sound a little bit much. So they'll try to sell you down on 3 and then the whole timeline will run behind. I tell you this because as long as we've been doing weddings, hair and makeup, in order for hair and makeup to not only do what they need to do, but make allowances for those disturbances, those potty breaks, those now TikTok and Instagram reels that every particular vendor needs. You need 4 hours. Hands down, there's no getting around it. So if you have a wedding time where your parents tell you, or the pundit tells you that, Muhurtram's at 11, you might as well just 6 hours before 11 is when you are getting ready because you still need to do all those portraits before the Muhurtram, right? And do your Bharat and all those things. So might as well just assume you've got 6 hours on the front end of that before you even hit your mandap. So make sure that you guys put that a little bit into perspective as you start planning these timelines. But really what I want to be able to cover here today is talking to you a little bit about what is getting ready, because we do get so many questions about getting ready and do I really need it? And I don't need that much getting ready, right? The getting ready part of your wedding day allows us to do other things. A lot of people will say, well, we'll start with the getting ready, but let me tell you what that entails from a start of the day perspective for vendors. When we arrive at our venues, if there's light outside, we like to do the venue shots, the whole feel of coming up to the venue. What does that feel like? Because most of the times for our Indian weddings, they're actually getting married at the venue in which they're getting ready at. So a lot of times they don't leave the venue and come back until after their wedding ceremony and reception are over with. So we have to get there a little bit early because we need to tell the story of that whole coming up to the venue. What does that look like? Make sure that we get shots of that. Then we usually will go to the ceremony site and just drop the gear that we do not need to haul into the rooms of getting ready. And then we usually will touch base with any vendors that are there on site or location and take a quick look at the mandap setup and where it is and what it is that we necessarily have to work with. Sometimes, depending on the timeline, that is the time in which we will also set up any lighting gear that we feel that we may need if we're not getting a break in between getting ready and portraits and, of course, the Bharat and any other puja ceremonies that take place before our bride enters. We try to get all that taken care of so that as we're moving, things just progress very quickly with our South Asian Indian weddings, that we need to make sure that we're not stopping to do other things. So before we even get into your room, we've actually begun footage so that we usually tack onto our getting ready because that's us getting ready to tell your story. So usually when you talk to your vendors, you should ask them, what time will you be on site? Because you need to know when exactly they're going to be arriving on site versus coming and actually starting coverage in your room. Because when they're on site, they're usually already starting coverage. And by the time they get to your room, they need a good solid hour of getting ready pictures. Srinu and I, as a husband and wife couple, we split that time between our bride and groom and we bounce. So we like to get a little bit of the male, female perspectives on both sides of that getting ready coverage. Things that I find awesome and pretty and beautiful and attractive. He does not find the same things as beautiful and attractive. He likes certain angles that I'm like, I don't really care too much for those angles. Not really important to me. So we like to trade off and be able to get good pictures from a little bit of a different perspective because you have two of us. Whereas a lot of times people don't have two. You just have a shooter and they're going in between the two and so forth. So we like the fact that that's a hometown advantage for us because we are a husband and wife team. And so we utilize it to its fullest. But when we get in the rooms, we like to prep our clients and say, hey, before we get there, you should have boxes. You should have two boxes. One should have your wedding ceremony attire needs, such as, anything that you're going to be wearing jewelry wise, shoes wise, and any intricacies of your wedding attire, whether it's like your belt or your arm bracelets, or whether it's rings that you'll be wearing, or, it could even be strings for, when your ceremonies take place and they put these things on your forehead. Those things also, we like to have them because we will use our macro lenses and get really tight details of the ornamental designs that are on there. This is the time when we get ring pictures too, because it gives us the opportunity to be able to just stylize them with some of the things that you already have. So we ask clients, create two boxes, one for your ceremony stuff, one for your reception stuff. And then, of course, make sure that you have in the closet all of your ceremony wedding attire that you'll be wearing set up together, and then your reception attire set up together. Because for photography, we don't need to tell that in sequence. We actually will take that and start individually photographing like the beadwork or the designs and making sure that we're laying it out and telling the detail story, right? So that as you move from your getting ready pictures into your dressing and getting prepped and draped, it's not just boring pictures. We have all those little details to tell the story. Not only that, but editors look for this stuff when they're combing through and wanting to publish weddings. So we try to make sure we get everything, and we need that time to just breathe and not feel rushed during those pictures. There's nothing worse than trying to be an artist when you know that you're rushed and time is limited and you got to get moving. Those pressures can add up very quickly. So we try to get in there a little bit early and make sure that not only we're getting those candids of you guys with your girlfriends and your parents and grandparents, or even those solo shots of like your bridesmaids, they're like looking at you like, oh my gosh, like she's really getting married. You want to be able to capture those pictures. And so this is what getting ready means. And then we usually try to focus on our brides as they get a little closer to the finish line, right? We don't want, as makeup artists have just started putting stuff on, we want that almost finished, polished look before it's actually finished. We will mock some of our pictures afterwards of you getting ready. We try not to disturb our makeup artists that much because we understand as artists that it really sucks when you've got people saying, oh, can you stop? Can you redo that? It really interrupts the flow of things. So we want to be there while she's working, but we don't want to disturb the process of her working, because at the end of it, important things that are going to be beautiful are going to be done in the better light, not the ring light that she's using or where she's positioned you. So we will usually let all that happen, let you be into that experience as it's taking place. And then once you're done, we will then ask your makeup artist to give a couple spritz of perfume, to be able to just touch the lips up or brush stroke your cheeks. That way we're not fighting. And nonetheless, you don't have all these pictures in like a robe or a button-up shirt that they've asked you to be in, or a lot of times brides don't think about it, but if the top of your lenga blouse does not have to go over your head. I know a lot of makeup artists will push our couples to like get into as far of the advanced stages as possible so that, it kind of expedites. But remember, girls, if you are putting on blouse pieces, before your makeup gets started, you are not going to have those photos of your dresses all in one piece with all the things. So it winds up being little details. And so just think about that. Some people, they do not care if they actually have a styled picture of their dress, lenga, sari, whatever, anywhere. They're fine if they do that when they're taking pictures. And as a couple, they're fine if they have portraits in those, and it doesn't really matter. But you really need to put a little bit of thought into this, because for some it does matter. And, makeup artists and planners will tell you, go ahead and get into that so that they're just able to drape you when you're done. And then you don't think about that. And you're like, I really wanted those pictures. So just think about it in advance and how much that really matters to you before you slide that piece on during your makeup and hair, so that that, whether or not it doesn't come apart and it has to go over your head before. A lot of them nowadays, actually, you can put them on after because they button in the front or they lace up in the back. So just keep it in mind as you start moving into your getting ready footage. Another thing that you're going to want to make sure that you get during getting ready is your parents and your bridesmaids. And unless you're doing that little robe shot, have everybody get ready and be ready before they come to your room. Make sure that your bridesmaids and your mom and, if his mom is going to be there for his getting ready, everybody should be ready before they even come to your room for the tail end of your getting ready, because a lot of times brides do not want bridesmaids in their petticoats or before they've gotten draped in their room having those pictures, because after the wedding is over and they go back and look at those pictures, they don't even want to share those pictures publicly because they know it's like being in your underclothes, right? So just think these things through, because getting ready, a lot of times the thought is not put into it prior to getting ready itself. One other thing that you want to keep in mind, because this can be in the absence of things and as they're happening as your team gets started, but natural light is your best friend. And so if you're fortunate enough to be getting ready after the sun has begun to rise, you want to make sure that that window light hits you either from the front or from the side. You want to make sure that you have that natural light. You don't have to be disturbed. You do not have to be moved, and that your team can work around you. You want to make sure that you're not right up on that window. Allow yourself to have walk around distance for all your team players to be able to get footage that they need without disturbing the workflow of your vendor team, like your hair and makeup people. So just keep that in mind as you're setting that chair up to sit in to get ready. You want to remember, I got to stay far enough the window so that people can pass through and walk around me, but I want to be able to have that beautiful light able to drape down on my beautiful makeup and hair that's being done within a safe distance away so that it's not full on straight, stark, harsh light either. So these are things that you want to take into consideration as you start planning your getting ready. Go to Home Goods, go to those little bougie stores that you can get these nice little boxes so that as you're leading up to your wedding day, you can just start packaging and putting things in there. Make sure your bindies in there, make sure all your jewelry's in there, make sure if there are any important pieces to your attire, like belts and stuff like that, that they are all in that box and can be accounted for. And you're not digging through suitcases on the wedding day and just ripping the room apart and stuff is everywhere and people are asking you everything. You can really enjoy your day just by doing these little small things as you girls start planning for your wedding day and the getting ready portion. Be able to have that stuff nice and neat. You want to make sure that you're cutting off tags and undoing wrappers before you take your stuff to the hotel. There's nothing worse than having to dedicate a lot of time to just unwrapping. When you tie your linga, it actually has these little ornate beadwork pieces at the end of your strings, and they wrap them as if they're fortified. So you want to make sure you cut all those pieces off. Take all the tags and the staples out of your stuff and make sure that all of that stuff is just put away in the trash so that that is not stuff that is just strewn along and throughout your room as people are asking for scissors. That's like our biggest thing. People are like, oh, do you have a pair of scissors? And then nobody has scissors. And then they're asking the makeup artist, and the makeup artist is like slowly breaking inside because she doesn't want her scissors to be used on like metals and paper products because, when you're using scissors on like fabrics and lashes and stuff like that, they just cut differently. Many people don't know that, but it's true. Like I have in my drawers paper scissors and I have fabric scissors. And Lord forbid if any of these Rigetti peeps walk in here and start using my paper scissors on my fabric and my fabric scissors on my paper, I will just lose it on you. So it's one of those things that these are important things. And you just want to make sure that you've prepped enough before that on the wedding day, you're just breathing, drinking, sipping on some mimosas and enjoying your morning with your girls and your mom and not stressing about all the things that weren't just put together neatly like they should have that you can't find last minute. So there you have it. This is the insider's information on what it is my brides really should keep in mind as they plan their getting ready footage of their wedding day with all of their vendors. Make sure that you ask the questions to your hair and makeup people like, hey, I don't want to be rude or anything, but what are you going to be wearing on the day of? I know that you're going to be in a lot of my pictures, so I just want to make sure, she doesn't have to get dressed up like she's going to be on the red carpet, but definitely she or he should look well put together so that if you get their hand, you want to make sure your hair and makeup people have manicured hands so that when their hands are in your pictures, it's not like, man, they should have did something with their hands, or that they're wearing a shirt or an apron that's all like bleached or dyed or has like markings on it, or they look like they've just gotten out of a party last night and showed up to do your event. They can just put it together a little so that in your pictures, should you wind up getting published or these go to print, that you have beautiful pictures that are like, your makeup artist girl, she was like on point and recognizable even. Messy buns can be done right for our hair and makeup artists to be in those pictures and not just look like they got up out of bed and drugged themselves in there. So take time to really talk about vendors about these processes so that it's all in place. And like I said, you can enjoy all your wedding space. There you have it. I don't know if this was a quick video or not, but I think it's an important one. So as you guys start embarking on the planning process, if you have not hired that wedding photographer yet, I most likely could be available for your date. We only take 20 weddings a year. So if you are in the midst of planning your 2026 wedding, you are ahead of the game and I would love to talk to you. So head over to rigettys.com, fill out that inquiry form, and definitely drop me a line so that we can get on Zoom and talk more about your wedding day, go through the details. Whether or not you book in the end, it's like free planning information so that you can just be ahead of the game. What do you have to lose? So there you have it. If you guys are looking for inspiration, head over to Instagram at the Rigettys. Until the next episode, I hope you guys have started getting ready.